Hey guys, welcome back to What I've Learned podcast. You got me, Grant, Mark Flair, and today we've got Keith Stonehouse and Daniel Salmo on with us. Going to be a little different setup, just kind of a more round table, getting to know both of them and what they do. So, Keith, you are in the title sector, right?
Correct. Title insurance, yes.
Okay, and so give us just a little quick background of where you're at, what you do, and
Sure. Started the business 2004. Got in the business 20 years ago. I was in retail management and realized that wasn't for me. And title insurance was kind of a stopgap. But I fell in love with the sales portion of it and becoming really close friends with clients, real estate agents, and mortgage loan officers. And love being a part of the closing process. First-time home buyers, move-ups, move-downs. And just kind of fell in love with it and grew to 5 locations in 5 years. And created friendships and lasting relationships and grew all over the state of Michigan.
nice. That's with Franklin Title, right?
Franklin Title Agency, yep.
And then on the side, you also run the Michigan Real Estate
Mastermind
class.
Yep.
Or group that meets, once a month or a couple times a month?
No, we have 8 different locations that we meet every month.
Okay.
So once you become a member, we have lunch and learns, we have happy hours, we have charity events, we have Tigers games, boat outings on Lake St. Clair. We do shuttle bus trips all over, continuing education for real estate agents, mortgage loan officers. And we do lunch and learns, like I said, in 8 different cities, covering all kinds of different topics. The website is a Angie's List type of website for the members. They can be found. So it's anything from real estate agents to home inspectors to builders to cleaners, insurance companies, mortgage loan officers, as well as a social media presence.
Awesome.
When do you find time to sleep?
Yeah.
I don't.
Busy. That's awesome. All right, and Daniel, yourself, you've been in real estate for a few years now, right?
Yeah.
And selling real estate and with the Daniel Salmo.
I don't know if I believe him. He's got no gray hairs or nothing.
I know that.
They're falling back a little bit.
Dyeing your hair.
We're doing good. I'm still 31. What do you want from me? Oh,
awesome. Well, so like I said, today's kind of going to be a little bit more open format in terms of what we're doing. Normally, we're just kind of interviewing one person and seeing their backstory. But today, a couple topics I want to hit on. One, where you both started from. Like, what was the
ground up?
Yeah, like
the
ground
real
up.
story.
Like, what was? It can be early life. It can be kind of first experience in terms of like maybe business ownership or change in your trajectory. I think that's a huge common theme that we see is like there's at one point in somebody's life there's kind of like a change in their thought process of how business and life and things are supposed to work. A lot of people we have on here are business owners and have started from maybe a mindset of like I got to work the 9 to 5 or something like that, something different, and there was a pivotal point that changed their trajectory. So we'll kind of start on that. Keith, what was a big turning point for you? Like, where did it kind of start in terms of from where you're at now? Where was a big point that got you to here?
Well, it's funny that you brought up the 9 to 5. So I went to school for business administration, and I thought that I was going to be a retail manager for the rest of my life. And I started very low level in retail at a major chain and did that for about a year and a half. And I loved it. I really, truly loved it. And turned the department around, made it profitable, turned a few departments around, made it profitable, and they wanted to promote me to assistant store manager, which would have made me the youngest assistant store manager in Michigan history. And I was very excited about that. So I asked the guy who I was taking his position. He was moving on to another store, moving up. He'd been doing it for about 7-8 years. And he said, do you want my story or do you want their story and what it's going to be like? And I said, well, I guess I want your story. He said, well, you work 8 to 4 every day, and you don't work weekends and you don't work holidays, and you get overtime if you work over. He said, once you become a real manager, all that goes out the window. You're going to work 65 hours plus, 40-hour salary, weekends, holidays, on call. Your job's always on the line. You have quotas to meet. And I said, that doesn't sound like what I want to do. And I said, what's the most you'll ever make? And he said, our store manager, I think, makes about $112,000. And he was 45 years old, 50 years old. And I said, that's just not going to work for me. So I got out of that. I was dating somebody who worked at a title insurance company. She said, come work here. Mind you, she was a receptionist. We were 21 years old, And I said, I don't even know what a title company is. I don't know what you do there. I don't know. It looks like a bunch of robots on computers. And she said, just come here. So I went there. They offered me a good amount of money to work in recording. And I saw this guy, Jeff, who was barely ever in the office. And when he was on a cell phone. And back then, 20 years ago, having a cell phone was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And he was driving a new Beamer, and he was 35, and he was golfing all the time, wearing polo shirts. And I'm going, what does this guy do? And he had his own corner office, and I had to be in there every day in the office and take your 15-minute break. This guy was living a break, and he was the head sales guy. So I said, well, I want to do that. And they said, we don't have any openings. So I literally quit that day, went to a Starbucks in downtown Rochester, opened up the classifieds. I don't know if you remember classified newspapers, but had to open it up and found a sales position at a title insurance company in Farmington Hills. And I went there. I got the job. I was terrible for 2-3 years. I jumped around companies, never got training. They just told me drop off trinkets and cookies at real estate offices, and they'll send you business. So I literally drove around all over southeastern Michigan, dropping off cookies and trinkets and pens and rate sheets at real estate offices.
That's great.
And they gave me a little salary, and they would get frustrated. Why don't you have any business coming in? I don't know. So I found a mentor, this guy who was an older mortgage guy, and he brought me under his wing and showed me about relationships and networking and helping people and being a part of the community. And now that's what I do. I pay it forward, and I teach a course called Working Smarter, Not Harder, the 5 Pillars of Success. And I teach real estate mortgage professionals all over the state, Grand Rapids, Traverse City, Frankenmuth, Troy, Detroit. Working smarter, not harder, the balance of building a business, working smarter, not harder, the 5 pillars of success, all the things that I failed at and overcame, and all the things that my successful clients, real estate agents, and mortgage loan officers failed at and overcame, and what works for them and what doesn't. And so I can help people when they're building their business to not head down paths and waste 2, 3, 4, 5 years like I did. They can jump right into what works, and that's how I built my business.
How large is your mastermind? How many members do you have today?
Just over 200.
Does that make you the largest mastermind group in Michigan, Southeast
As
Michigan?
far as I know, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yep.
That's awesome. I've seen your mastermind a lot on social media. You do a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of them, and it's always quality content, quality people. Then
Yep.
You guys set it up in a way and encourage the relationships and the connections, which in this business, like you alluded to, is key. That's the one thing you didn't learn, and why you weren't successful early on was the relationship building wasn't taught and wasn't emphasized so often. And I know that's as a real estate agent, and Daniel is a successful real estate agent so far. Relationships are obviously key in what you do. Like
Definitely.
there's just nothing like it.
You focus on the relationship, and the sales come. You know, and that's what it's really about. It's not about the sale. It's about the client, and then the sale comes second.
I know you have kind of an interesting backstory. You used to own a
Cell phone store.
Cell phone store.
Yeah.
So how did that start? And what were you doing before that? Like, where did it all kind of
Definitely.
come to?
Give you guys a brief background. I've been in retail pretty much my whole life. Been working since I was like 13 years old at my dad's Tubby's back in the day. I think I put more hours than he did at the time. Yeah, I love Tubby's till this day, but no one made them as good as we did. It was really good. But anyways, started there, and then we got into the cell phone business. A Verizon store at the age of, not me personally, my family, age of 18, 19. Then I started working at a Metro store in Flint. Had a background there. Did a few other things. Been in pretty much retail. Cell phones, restaurants, clothing store, surprisingly. And then when I was 21 years old, me and my brother bought our first cell phone store together. It was a Sprint store in Dearborn, Fairlane Mall. We were there from 2010 to 2016. And then, retail was my life. Just, work for your money. I didn't really get guided the right way besides just work hard and get rewarded. And I realized, like, man, we're investing a lot of money in these businesses. We're working our butts off, and thank God, it was a blessing, but it's not really where I wanted to go. So 2015, I got engaged, and then me and my wife bought our before we got married, we bought a condo. I bought the condo on a good deal, and I put some money into it, and I was like, oh wow, I got instant equity. I'm the man, I'm gonna start flipping properties. And then I was like, well, you know what? Let me get my real estate license because I'm going to save on the commission. You know, when I list, when I buy, I'm like, it's a no-brainer. I'm like, what do I got to lose? Until I started to really.
It's so easy in Michigan. It's like 40 hours. It's a joke.
It really, and I didn't know it should be harder, but it's okay.
I was trying to enroll my 5-year-old, but they said something about he's got to be 18 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's smart enough. Trust me.
No, so yeah, I never thought of being a real estate agent, to be honest with you guys. I want to be a real estate investor, you know, buy, sell, hold, buy, sell, flip, whatever the case may be.
What got you thinking about that? What sparked that in you?
So the condo, when I bought it, you know, I was like,
you were watching TV shows or nothing?
Well, that too. But I knew it wasn't that easy. I had some business sense, mind you, coming into real estate. But my main goal was just
Slightly
to use
realistic,
it.
Right.
Yeah. Use it for that. And then, you know, end of 2016, I got out of the Sprint store and, you know, really didn't know what direction to go into. And then I said, you know what? I got my real estate license. I'm sick of investing in businesses and losing and failing or breaking even or whatever the case may be. If I could just sell, you know, a few houses a month, I can make good money, you know? And I set a goal for my first year in real estate was 2017. I set a goal and I just worked really hard at it. And, you know, using all the knowledge and wisdom and experience that I had in retail, I brought all that to real estate. And just naturally, I care for people, you know, and that's the model that I work off of is, you know, create a referable experience by caring for people, by building that trust, by building that relationship. And I feel like that's what pushed me through to where I'm at today.
So a lot of people look at you as the social media expert or a social media icon. How did you start, you know, growing your business just on a platform of Instagram?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. So when I got into real estate, it was a big decision. Mind you, I just got married. I just bought a condo. I just found out I'm having my first son. And I just lost $250,000 business. So luckily, I was smart with my money. I saved a little bit up. And, you know, I was actually going to buy another cell phone store. And I'm like, well, yeah, this is all the money that I got, you know? So luckily, I had enough to hold me up for 6 months. And then I was like, all right, I only got enough to hold me up for 6 months. I don't want to invest in leads. I don't want to cold call because I tried that a little bit before and I was like, oh, this terrified me, even though it works. Everything works. It's just a matter of what you want to do. So I said, you know what? So I was no social media guru by any means. I mean, I just used it for pleasure at that time.
But you must have had a pretty incredible mindset at this point. Like you lose a part of a business, you've got some savings to uphold you for 6 months. A lot of people get nervous, but you're ready to kind of make this plan and run with it.
Yeah, well, once I lost the store, I was planning on buying another store, and that took me about a month or two to realize that I'm not going to do that. You know, that I lost the store in September 2016. October, November, worked at a Metro store, which is what I was planning on investing in. And then I said, you know what, man, if I don't take this chance now, I'm never going to take it, meaning getting into real estate. I got the money. Yeah. Worst case scenario, I spend all my money, I sell my condo and figure it out from there, you know? So then I said, okay, what's the best way to reach the most amount of people with spending nothing? I said social media. So social media meaning Instagram, Facebook. I'm hitting Snapchat hard. Now I'm adding LinkedIn. I'm planning on working on YouTube, but mainly it was Instagram and Facebook at the time. And I'm just like, let me just post good, valuable content.
What are you posting? Because you're a newer agent at this point. So what exactly are you posting?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just thought of like ways of how can I get the most engagement? And each individual person might have their own way of getting engagement. It's your own personal brand. It's, you know, your own imagination. But I'm posting, you know, homes for sale. I'm posting good, valuable tips for buyers. I'm posting good, valuable tips for sellers. I'm posting just general information. I'm posting information about title,
are you taking
about
pictures
mortgage.
Of your dinner or anything? Are we looking at what you're eating for dinner?
So yeah, that definitely
that
rolled
heart
in.
froth in the coffee.
You got to show your real self. You got to show your real self, and people don't want to just see real estate. They get it, you're in real estate, but they also want to see who you are. You know, what are you about? Right. I know Grant's in golfing. I know, you know, you're a big believer. I'm a family man. Whatever the case may be, we all got it. But people want to see the real side of you too, and that's what attracts them to you. And ever since then, I just built off that. To be honest with you,
right.
Just
so what social media tips would you give to yourself if it was your younger self and you had to start all over again? What would you do different?
You know what? I think I did a pretty decent job right off bat. The only thing you could potentially do is, you know, I just be more disciplined and structured, you know, which is probably the hardest thing that we all kind of go through.
I think everyone struggles with that.
Schedule,
Yeah.
discipline, structure, and just be more consistent.
Now I know you had a kind of a little bit of a mentor in terms of somebody that pushed you into real estate, right? Somebody, or into, not real estate, into social media, using social media more. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He works with the like Matt Baffo and those guys.
Was it Doug Catteray?
Doug Catteray.
Yeah, no, Doug. Matt Baffo introduced me to Doug.
Yeah.
Great guy, great friend, like a brother to me. Great coach. Definitely taught me a lot. He didn't. No, social media was just like. Actually, I give a lot of credit to my wife. She's the one who pushed me. From what she tells me, I can't really remember.
I heard you met your
I can't
wife on
remember.
social media.
Yeah, social media's been gold for me. I met my wife on Twitter.
Your whole life.
I
is
slid in her
basically social
DM.
media.
Yeah, got kids out of it. Built my business. I'm like, yeah. I'm attracting agents through social media.
It sounds like you owe Zuckerberg, a little bit of
Send him a thank
credit.
you
He owes me. He owes me some credit. He owes me some credit. But no, Doug just helped guided me in using better systems and processes and tools as a coach would, and he's definitely helped me a lot. But as far as me deciding on social media, I would say mainly my wife and me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's-
I see, a variety, and like you said, that you got to be real on social media. You can't be.
Yeah, because you
fake.
think about it, like if I come on here and I'm like, just acting like a different individual, and then on social media, like I'm all goody, and then when I meet you, you're like, man, this guy kind of sucks, or he's not what he thought he was going to be. You got to cover it up. It's hard to cover up a lie than be the real truth, which is yourself.
And I've always been a proponent. I think social media is a great way for people to kind of be able to find out if they like you or not. And it's easy for you, like if you're going to work with some people well and you're going to work with other people not so well. Yeah. And if you can find out kind of early because somebody's just, they just don't like your personality or like you, that's fine. People, not everybody's going to be cool with you.
No.
Right.
But
You can't please everybody.
Yeah.
No.
Before you get halfway into a transaction with them or as a client, and you find out that, you guys just butt heads on everything or they just don't like you, period. That can be avoided because having a client that's not a fan of yours, doesn't really like you, can sometimes be damaging, or just it's not gonna. You're not going to see fruits of it in the future in terms of referrals and things like that.
100%.
Right.
And that's a great reason why I use social media too, because you're attracting these people. You're earning their business before they even call you. So when they call you, whether they want to buy or sell or become an agent with you in your company, they already kind of have an idea who you are. So it's easier for me to build that relationship and mirror and match their their personality or whatnot, because I typically get along with most people. And yeah, there's people who want to get straight to the point. There's people who are more detailed. There's people who are aggressive. That's everybody in every industry. And you just got to mirror and match that. But my point is, when you're putting the content out there and then they're coming to you, it's a lot easier to convert into a relationship than you just randomly calling somebody or buying a lead. Even buying leads doesn't mean you're going to convert. You immediately, you still got to convert them into, building that trust factor. That's the main thing. So it's a solid platform, and I would definitely recommend anybody and everybody to get on it because it's a no-brainer.
What are some pitfalls you see people get into in social media, like things that you would maybe consider wrong or not good?
Yeah, so I actually say there is no good or bad marketing. I mean, there's no perfect to the T on what you got to do. The main thing you got to do is be yourself. The next thing you got to do is be consistent. I actually got a 90-day action plan that I created. Very simple, step by step on what you should do to boost start for 90 days. One of them is be yourself. That's the main thing, because if you're fake, people are going to see right through you. 2 is before consistency, it's actually to make an introductory post. So, for example, you might not be a real estate agent, and then you get your everyone knows you, right? And then you get your real estate license, and you just start. Nobody knows that because you didn't tell anybody. And then you just start posting homes for sale. They're gonna be like, Granson Real Estate now? No, you want to make an introductory post. Show people you care. Show people you're in real estate now.
Is what you're saying.
Make the effort. Don't just assume, I'm in real estate, I'm just gonna make posts and people are gonna come. You got to be strategic about it.
So don't you think that sometimes people in social media forget the formality of actually taking the steps of, it's kind of like a celebration. Like, I just got my license,
Step by step.
I just started this business. Let's do something a little bit more formal and interact about that first. before we just straight out say, do you have a house to buy or sell?
Exactly. There's a huge psychological aspect to it. It's not just I'm going to post. It's let's be strategic about it. So let's start step by step. And yeah, exactly. Because that gives the impression I'm just here to make a sale. You know, I don't care about you or my social media presence. I'm just here to help you sell or buy a home. And that's the impression you kind of give.
And like you alluded to too is, although you hadn't been to the, it's MREM, right? Mm-hmm. Michigan Real Estate Mastermind. You know of Keith and what he does from his posts
because of social media.
Right. From social media. If he didn't post anything
a few times,
nobody'd know. He'd have to be cold calling and like showing up at people's doorstep. And social media has been, I feel like, so undervalued with, especially in our industry, in any branch, whether it's title, or any insurance, mortgage, especially real estate. It's so underutilized. You know,
I don't think it's underutilized. I think it's not used correctly. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of real estate agents using it, and I see a lot of mortgage people and a lot of people in our industry using it. They're just not using it correctly. They're using it as a bragging platform or a look, I'm busy platform.
Right.
One of the most interesting things.
Don't say the word busy around Keith. I'll warn you right now.
I do not like that word.
Tell us why you don't like that word.
Because people use it in the wrong fashion. If I ask you something right now, if I ask you the question, hey, what have you been up to? Oh my God, I'm so busy. Automatically, what do you think?
It's
chaos.
Yeah.
Right. The person's chaotic. He doesn't have any balance. I don't want to refer this. I was going to refer my cousin, but I don't want to refer my cousin because he's too busy to handle my cousin, right? Yeah. So I always tell, don't say the word busy. But one of the most interesting things that I heard at a social media conference was the experience. Give people the experience of what it's like to work with you. Your posts, your content should relay the experience of working with you, being around your product, your services, your team. How do you relay that experience? And I thought that was interesting. You know, when you go to a conference or something, there's always that one thing that you pull from it for the rest of your career. That was the one thing from this conference. So now every time I post, it's, I'm a fun guy and I don't take myself that serious. But when it comes down to my career, I take it very serious. But how do I make both of those things of me being a fun-loving guy, but also very serious about my business? How do you put those together? And that's how you get the experience of working with me and my team.
So I kind of know what you're talking about. I'm looking at posts from realtors that keep telling me about how much they got for the over list price or how many days it took to sold. That's all great, but there's no story behind that house. What's the story behind it? Did that person relocate from another state and this was their dream home layout? Did they find out on the same street they have a friend who works at the same office? Now he's got someone to hang out with. Like, is there an actual story? And I think that I'm going to have to agree with that because you get kind of numb looking at the same thing. And you're like, okay, it's the same thing again. I understand what you're trying to say. I get it.
But here's the thing, though, Mark, too, is that when they're talking like that, I've noticed that a lot of people in our industry, not just real estate, but mortgage, insurance, whatever, they're using acronyms. They're using terms that people outside of our industry don't understand.
Right.
And it's going over their head. So they're getting numb too. So it's almost like they're, for lack of a better term, they're bragging to each other.
Pretty much.
One realtor to another. And you need to relay that message to a potential home buyer and seller, not to other realtors. So when you're using these terms, these acronyms and these terms, these people are going, I don't know, and they just keep scrolling.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
To your point too, I think one thing I always try to think about in any situation is, people don't always, they very rarely remember what you said and even how you say it, but they remember how they feel.
That's what I mean.
And like you're saying, if you're putting things out there that make people feel good about you and who you are, and like you said, the experience that they get with you, they get that feeling because through social media, through video and things like that, and being able to see how you are, how you act, your interests, and how you treat people through there it gives them that feeling early on before they've even met
you. That's
you.
probably almost what you started doing right away, and that's why it caught on fire.
I think you did it without even realizing how authentic you were delivering your message, and it just, people loved it.
And that's the thing. Definitely being real and accomplishments. People take it in I agree with everything you guys are saying. what most agents do is they're trying to show their accomplishments, but it comes off in a cocky way or an arrogant way.
Right.
If they can portray that in a way to where, like you said, maybe tell a story on how you got multiple offers and sold the house in 3 days.
There is a story behind it.
Exactly.
But no one knows what you're talking about except for the end
because the
result
agent,
of the brag.
is focused on, let me just push this out there really quick without putting effort in my thought and description and post.
Boils down to the effort.
Because I don't care. I just want to tell everybody and show this agent that I just sold this house with multiple offers, and it comes off as what you guys are interpreting it, which is an issue that I see. Yeah, 9 out of 10 times I just see the agent's name, call me to buy or sell. Why should I call you to buy or sell? A lot comes down to the experience.
We don't know how it feels.
We're all
We don't know how it
agents.
feels.
We can all provide the client the same end goal potentially, but it's what's happening in the middle of that, the experience, which is the care,
Right.
the process, the communication, the information, the negotiation. There's a lot more to it, but I think you should definitely show your accomplishments to attract more people in a respectful way. Like, hey, I'm doing closings. I sold a house over multiple offers, but tell a story and be real and genuine about it, not like cocky and arrogant. And people just got to put effort into the post.
Right.
It's
And
not just a matter of making the post.
And there was a post I was reading from a realtor friend of mine who had emphasized, after the accomplishments that he was listing, his post's objective was to say he still made time to hang out with his son at an event. And that was really the highlight of his post. And I think a lot of people who started commenting on that post just love the fact that they could relate to that. That's what mattered most to them,
Exactly.
right?
Yep,
and
relating.
And I see, I personally usually see it in one way or the other, where so many people are heavy in their business and in this industry. They're either like heavily posting everything about whatever it is they're doing in real estate or mortgage, or they're just over heavily posting about just life or their real life and not really touching on the business or anything like that. I see that I think you do try to take a balance to it. And is there a balance that you try to work in terms of what you're posting?
Yeah,
and things
no,
like that?
definitely. Like I said earlier, you can't just post all real estate or all just whatever you're talking about. I would say, if I had to put a number to it, I would say 70% business and 30% personal.
But let's not get crazy with the pedicure pictures, though.
No pedicure, yeah.
No pedicure
A lot of weird
pictures.
stuff happens when you post pictures like that, by the way.
Yeah.
But no, that that's just like, he's cool. He gets pedicures. I get pedicures too, but I don't want to be out there and saying it. It's just showing my personal side.
You're gonna attract
I'm
the wrong
real.
people. You can get foot fetish people following you.
Man, I got stories for after the show.
They buy asses,
After
too.
the show.
No discrimination at all.
So Keith, in your business, what and how you operate social media and stuff, what are some things that you've learned through trial and error, or maybe other people, and how do you kind of balanced or your postings and things like that? What have you been doing?
Being catchy, being memorable. Obviously, title insurance is not something
Such an exciting,
right. Right, it's the sexiest.
It's a
part
big
of the whole
deal.
transaction.
it is.
It's a big deal.
But the problem is every single person, every single real estate agent, mortgage loan officer has a long-standing relationship with the title company, right? How do I break through that? Number one. Number two, they all have an in-house title company that the broker is pushing them to use for their benefit. How do I break through that? So the only way to really do that is to be memorable and consistently be memorable. So coming up with taglines like Title Order Tuesday. So now when it's Tuesday, everyone thinks Title Order Tuesday instead of tacos, right? So I'm coming.
I'm still not going to think about tacos, but I like the tag.
Mark loves
Maybe
tacos.
while you're eating tacos, you're thinking, yes, and that's fine too.
The place off Van Dyke.
Which one is that?
20.
Las Tortugas.
Yeah.
But now it's at 18
I'm
in
gonna have to try that.
Van Dyke.
Oh, they moved
moved to
it?
a new location.
Oh, they moved further now?
Yeah, it's bigger.
Oh, all right.
Can accommodate more of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember
a
we
good
were
thing.
there?
Not
Was
right,
it
not
me,
right now
you,
with
and
COVID, but or with
Yeah.
Well,
shut
we
now
were
it
on
can
the
accommodate
news.
more takeout orders at this time. But
yeah.
we were literally there eating for the first time, and I think Channel 7 was there. Yeah. And we're like, we're just trying to eat. Just a bunch of realtors. That was good for
Can we
marketing.
zone into the waitress dropping the tacos off on your table? We're like, okay,
Dana's
but
just standing behind the camera holding his business card.
Yeah, exactly. Calling me to buy or sell.
Lays cards all over the table.
That's awesome.
So yeah, coming up with like, thank God it's Franklin, thank God it's Friday, TGIF, and just trying to consistently stay in front of people, doing the research. When I built my business, in 2004, what I did was I literally called 100 real estate agents and I called 100 mortgage people out of the
So you
yellow
spent
pages.
your own personal time to conduct like a real-time
survey.
real applicable survey before
Yes.
you started your business.
Yes, and it was
I like
right
that.
before I started it because I said, what am I going to do that's different? What am I going to do that's going to stand out? So I called 100 realtors and I said, thinking about starting a title company in like a year. What would be amazing and what really annoys you about title companies?
Right.
So they said, this would be amazing and this really bothers
How
me.
long was that list, by the way?
100 realtors and 100 mortgage loan officers.
Right.
So I had
Now,
100.
how long was your list of things that they could do better?
Well, there was a lot, yeah. And then the mortgage loan officer said this. So one of them was flexibility in closing times and locations, and don't, please close after 5 o'clock and early in the mornings. Can you come to their house to do refinances, things like that? So we started the model closing literally anywhere, anytime in the state of Michigan, and that exploded our business with mortgage companies because no other title companies back in the mid 2000s were willing to do that, and if they did, it was a huge fee on top of it, and we didn't charge that huge fee. So we went from nothing to.
Are you still doing that today?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And we went to 5 locations across southeastern Michigan within 5 years because we had to stay remote. So that was a huge thing. So being consistent, I can't say the word consistent enough, consistently memorable in front of agents because they have you have 90 title companies in front of your face every day trying to get your business. Mm-hmm. What am I doing? What am I offering that's different? We don't charge a seller closing fee, right? So you look at, oh wow,
How huge is that for someone who's listening in? Like, what does that even mean?
So when I started marketing that, and thank you to my friend Justin Barton, who owns Homati Aerial Photography, he was the one that pushed me this year and said, why don't you market that? That's amazing. I said, I never thought about it. So I started marketing it. Now, almost every single day, I have an agent hitting me up in my instant message or Facebook Messenger saying, I'm going to send a seller your way. Is this real? Are you really not charging a seller closing fee? What's the catch?
So are you really not charging us?
I'm really not charging.
Just making sure.
So almost
You heard
every
it on
single
here.
day. Yes. Stamp of approval.
So I want to bring up something because it's a really weird coincidence. I'm talking to a potential coach today, and he literally said something that Keith just said was surveying, and that's the best way to understand someone else's perspective
It's
on what
so
they're looking
simple.
for. It's so simple.
All you have to do is pick up the phone or send text messages.
So what he did in his business, he's in title, so he called lenders and realtors and said, what do you guys need? And then he looked at probably the top 10 items and said, I'm going to work off of this.
Yep.
And obviously it worked. So
And don't do these things
and
because
don't
the
do
things that
these
bother
things.
them.
Exactly. So the potential coach that I was talking to was literally like, I'm going to call, for example, it was talking about the luxury market. I'm going to farm this area and just call them, not to get their business, but to ask them, if I was a brand new agent and I haven't sold $1 million plus property, what would you want, for me to earn your business? He took the top 100, he took the 100 surveys, put them all together and applied it and blew up his business. So that's actually a great strategy that I would recommend, depending on where you're trying to go. You got to be strategic.
Sense, though, for you to engage an idea.
Gauge an idea, yeah.
Not one person fought me when I called them. Not one person hung up on me. Not one person.
Because he's coming from a place of value. He's
Yeah, I
asking
wasn't
them,
selling
what can I
anything.
help you?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
How can I help you better?
They were,
And I think we all know people do like to talk. So when you get them on the phone and ask them a question about their business,
Yeah.
or their
Especially
achievements or
nowadays,
their
people
hobbies, people
Now,
like to talk.
let me ask you. You called those people. How many of those people was that kind of the start of a relationship? Because that it's obviously showing value right off the bat. Like, hey, I want to learn so I can care more and do things better for you.
Correct.
How many people do you think that how many created a relationship?
30%
out of that.
It was 30%. Yeah. So
That's huge.
What I did was I would write a star next to the ones that I actually had meaningful conversation with.
Right.
Some of them would go, stop raising your rates, and that pisses me off. And number one, and number two, start doing this more. All right, I got to go. That's fine. All right, I'll take it. But the ones that we had meaningful conversation with, I made stars with, and I followed up with them at a later date. I didn't start hitting them right away because that's off-putting.
Right.
Mind you, I told them within a year, which was not the truth. I was starting it like in 10 minutes, but within a year. So I put it off a little bit.
Sounds
and
like a
then
buyer.
I went through, yeah, exactly.
Bait and switch.
I'm not
Smart.
moving for 6 months. 6 days later.
We found a condo. Yeah, so I did follow up with them, and it was great. And social media wasn't really around back then. I was featured in the Detroit Free Press and the Detroit News as a social media expert growing a title insurance company. They did a front page article on me in 2008.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah. So this was 2004. So right after that, I started jumping on MySpace and then Facebook.
MySpace, what's that?
Yeah. Remember that? I actually
Top
started
5 friends.
utilizing that. And then I got on Facebook. And what I did with Facebook was in its infancy to grow my business was I was a bachelor. So every day I would come home after work. I would put my feet up on the ottoman. I'd make a bourbon on ice. I'd get my laptop, and I would friend request. Today's Keller Williams Day, and I would friend request 100 Keller Williams agents. The next day is Motto Mortgage, and I'd friend request all the mortgage people. The next day was Remax agents, 100 people, and I'd friend request them, and I call it filling the stadium. So I filled,
fantastic.
I filled that stadium with people that I want
It's a
to
good
hear
game
my
plan.
message. And I did it over time, and then I got to 5,000 years ago, which is your max. And now I have all the people that I want to hear my message in my stadium, you know.
That's exactly what the platform is meant
That's
for.
exactly how I
Yeah.
built my social media following. You can only follow on Instagram mainly, but I have 5,000 as well on Facebook. Follow for follow,
Yep.
you know, until it caps you at 7,500, just for you guys to know. You can only follow 7,500 people on Instagram, but you could have obviously unlimited
So you should be
followers.
careful who you're following, because if that's
wanna
your
be
purpose,
strategic about
yeah, if
who
that's
you're
your
following.
purpose, you're trying to make sure it's a
So his target at the time was realtors, lenders, and any other
so it's a
partners.
complement relationship. Yeah,
Mine
absolutely.
was, okay, I know Mark lives in Michigan, and I'm sure 90% of his friends do too. I'm going to go follow all of Mark's friends. I know Grant lives in Michigan. I'm going to go follow all of his friends. And then I get a follow back. And the ones that don't follow me, I unfollow. But I give them time.
right.
So when you guys are, creating your audiences, right? And you're trying to get them to follow you back. When you go follow them or friend request and you're trying to get them back, what do you think is the big point or the big key that keeps them there or wants them to, or, that they want to be following you or seeing your content? What do you think is a big key point there and how you get them to stay, basically, once you ask them to be a part of it?
Yeah, no. I mean, Keith
I would
can
say
touch on
mutual friends first.
Okay.
They see mutual friends. If I see one of my best buds or one of my top clients or somebody I respect, and I go, oh, cool, okay, Mark's buddies with him, all right, and I'll go back. If I don't see hardly any mutual friends, I kind of think, are they even in the industry?
It's kind of a red flag when they have like one mutual friend and you've got 2,000 friends and
Right.
you don't see any real posts, and then you kind of have to put two and two together. That looks like a manufactured profile, or it's somebody super old who just started Facebook for the first time.
Well, there's a lot of people that
2020,
just
so.
go on to watch other people.
Yeah.
And they don't put
That's-
any content out.
That's the worrying part, because in our industry we still have to look out for each other in safety, because we've heard the cases of some female realtors going out there and getting almost kidnapped or getting hurt, and I think we all have to exercise caution.
Definitely.
Because we're in front of the public a lot.
So let me flip it, I guess, a little bit in terms of if you were to put yourself in the other person's shoes, which I'm sure you guys have done, or you're somebody's requests you or follows you, and you go and look at their stuff. What are things that are like off-putting, or like you're instantly like, no, I'm not going to follow this person, or I'm not going to friend this person? What are some of those things that we can avoid, I guess, that you see?
I would say, well, first and second question, I mean, let's say you get a follow for follow and they follow you. You want to keep them engaged, right? Of course, it all depends on your post, your description, your, being genuine, being real. And it's just a matter of when and they're looking to potentially buy or sell. I'm talking in terms of that, and or refer you a client. So you just got to put good content out there consistently. How do you do that? Obviously, we could think of a million reasons. You could literally Google top 10 items to talk about, whether it's business or not, and just create a schedule. Monday I'm going to talk about this, Tuesday I'm going to talk about this, and then just have 3 main points that you put on and keep people engaged, whether that's your story or your feed or whatever the case may be. But you got to create content to keep people engaged and put out good content consistently.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking at somebody else, what turns you off from them would be a lot of political posts.
I was just going to ask that question.
Rants.
What you guys thought about that, and do you engage yourselves in Facebook fights or anything
No,
crazy?
not at all. I definitely want to, but I'm just like, man, I definitely open about my faith, though. That I'll never deny.
Correct.
or shy away from, because the ultimate goal in life is to make it to heaven, and the last thing I want to do is like, oh, God's like, hey, you're going to post me on Facebook, which I'm pretty sure doesn't If I save some souls along the way, he's like, all right, good. But if I didn't, he's like, as far as political goes, no matter who's president or not, life's gonna go on, but God will never change.
Do you think that's a turnoff for people when, especially in a professional stance? Do you see that
Talking about faith?
No, well, just things that might be
posts.
political.
Political is
too
more
polarizing.
severe.
And
I think it's too sensitive right now. Maybe back in the day, maybe right now it's way too sensitive.
I think it's extra sensitive
Way
during
too
COVID when
sensitive.
you've been stressed out to a different degree. And I'm just trying to speak for other people. And of course, there's all these changes. There's homeschooling. There's all these
people are tense right now.
Yeah, there's all this energy drain on just what's going on, and then you have media just down your throat with all this.
And then you got your realtor who you were going to use, and you were for party A, and he's for party B, and you're like, oh, screw this guy. You know what I'm saying? That could potentially happen a lot.
Yeah, and
it's actually been happening. Some realtors have been posting it in our realtor groups where they're asking, hey, have you come into this situation yet?
Yeah.
So it's started to surface now lately.
Yeah, I think the political climate, I don't know if you guys have seen anything personally, but I definitely think that people get really on one side or the other, and like
it's
very much
hypersensitive.
against,
It's hypersensitive.
and very much against the other side. And if it's like
violently,
but if
I got a good story, but I'm not gonna. It's not a crazy political story, but
if you got one person on one side and then like a client on one side, and then you're on the other side, and they find out you're on the other side or something, that in today's political climate, where I feel
God
like it
knows.
used to be, you had more respect. Like, oh, that's fine.
That's fine.
I still respect you as a professional and as my.
That's how I am. I could care less who you vote for.
Me too.
Who you support.
But you live in a country where you're allowed to have your own opinion, and we can still like each other. I mean, if you like black suits and I like yellow suits, it's okay. We're fine. It doesn't matter. We can still be friends.
The media is definitely pushing it, which is
I've never seen this amount of division in America. And it's sad because I think other countries look up to America and they look at the United States as a wonderful place, a land of opportunity, regardless of the drama, regardless of Jerry Springer, regardless of all the specialties. But I think that people know that we will still unite at the end of the day. And I hope that everyone is staying focused on that. Because if you can let somebody divide you just because of a news flash, you gotta hammer out what's going on upstairs. Like that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
right.
I would definitely my story.
Yeah, I want to hear your story.
Then I'll end it with what I was gonna say. But no, I mean, like you said, there's so much division, so much sensitivity, and so much like anger between parties. Like I was at an inspection, and this lady, we were just talking this and then she kind of brought something up, and I was like, I assumed she was one way, and then I kind of stated where I was, and then she looked at me like this, and she's like, if there's anybody I ever wanted to kill with my bare hands, it's that person. And I'm just like, a lady. She was like 60 years old, and I was like, oh yeah, no, everything's cool. And I just ran away. But my point is that
I left the stove on.
That told me like, don't assume, and not only that, don't even bring it up. I get it. We want to stand for one side or the other, but no matter what,
but what's the deal
I'll never
with
shy
the
away from the
violence, though?
faith.
Yeah, what's the deal with the?
There's everyone controls their emotions differently, and we can't control everybody. But at the end of the day, we're here for I want to say relationships, for business, for family, and for faith. As far as political goes, that's always going to keep happening, and we just got to move forward and do our best to unite, be friendly, be peaceful, and take it.
That's the goal.
Take it from there. I agree. Yeah. So as far as social media goes, I don't recommend posting political stuff. Post anything else. Anything, whether you're interested in hockey or beer pong or
But it's interesting to talk to somebody who disagrees with you on that. Because and I don't disagree with you on that at all. I agree 100%. But I've talked to and I've seen a lot of people that are in our industry that post it regularly.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. And I've said something to them, whether it was in private message or in person. Hey, what do you think? Well, if they don't like me, then I don't need their business. And I think, well, I don't know if you're at that part of your career where you should be saying that.
Yeah, and even if you are, and I get it, I definitely, no. I'm all about standing up for what I believe in, for the truth, and to defend my case on why. I need to justify. I just don't think, even if we do, where's that going to lead us? It's just going to cause more division.
Well, my point comes back
like that person's not going to be like, yeah, you're right.
I think you have to have some standards for yourself. I think there's a point where you say, you know what, we can't do business because it's too this is just not going to work, and that's okay. But I don't think you're going to come across that case often enough in a private conversation.
I haven't had any
the person
issues.
who's posting it all the time, I think that's one of their primary conversations. Is never even going to start with, so what are you good at? Why should I give you the business? They're going to say, well, you said this. And
I think if in any field, if you're an expert and you're a professional, right, you have to realize that everybody has their opinions on everything. And having a different opinion than yours doesn't make you a bad person. Mm-hmm. But I think, kind of as Keith's alluding to, is when you portray like you're so hard on one side, you come off as, anybody that's not this, I don't want to be with, I don't want to be around, I don't want you talking to me. Where you could, to me, you can still like other people that are into different things or believe different things or different faiths. Any have different mindsets from your things. They can still be a decent human being, a decent person, and completely fine as a client and somebody to be around and have a conversation with. You just don't agree on something. But to blast out on social media that you're totally for one thing or totally against another, I think just starts to create a hard division line, and it's you might get some people that like agree with you, but that's almost a small majority, an extreme.
Well, what I'm getting at is the business aspect. So when we got into this business, we all have a goal of where we want to be, whether that's quarterly, whether that's 6 months, a year. Where do we want to be? In 10 years and 20 years, what are we shooting for? And if this person tells me that by this time this year, I want to be at this many units, this income, and they're halfway there at the time frame that they should be here, then why would you do something like this and post things that are going to potentially push people away?
I agree with you exactly, because we just talked about putting the effort into writing a meaningful post, telling a story. So why isn't the effort redirected at hitting those goals so you can go ahead and celebrate your opinion, but you're not actually achieving that goal that's at hand right now?
You're just, you're actually hurting yourself.
You're hurting yourself, yeah.
So I think that just comes down to that, specific individual not able to control their emotions. And unfortunately, a lot of people can't.
But isn't owning a business the first important factor of it, disciplining your mind?
And great point. That shows that they may not care that much about potentially losing a client. I get it, standing up for what you believe in and what you feel like may be the truth. But at the end of the day, everyone's their own person. It's hard to just...
And doing it on a platform that I think it's one thing to talk to somebody face to face, right? To have a civil conversation, like to be able to talk your opinion to somebody, and if they are wildly against you or won't even hear you, then they're probably not that decent of a human to begin with. Like if you can't have a civil conversation with somebody and point your beliefs out, and those are probably people you don't want to do business with anyways.
No, exactly.
But I think when you're on social media, just like through text message, things like that, it's hard to interpret sometimes things that you're putting out. Right,
the tone, the way they say it, what they really mean.
Yeah, if it's just a post or a message or something like that, and even how you interpret it, like if you share a post, you might have interpreted it different than how other people interpret it. Mm-hmm. And it's not the same as being able to talk face to face with somebody, or even make a video, maybe explaining your position in a way that's more balanced or not attacking another opinion. And I think social media it's hard to really be able to decipher how somebody actually feels about something through posts. And I get that. Like I've met people that post one way really heavy and things that that borderline probably not okay to post online. And in person they're good people, and I don't think they really mean it to come off the way that it does, but it does. And it's
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying before, is that if you're one way on social media all the time, and then they meet you and you're completely different, that's going to really throw them off.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the same thing as if you never really post anything political, then all of a sudden you post something that's political and very severe on one end, or about some certain topic or situation or law made or whatever it is, and you go off, you could just be typing it however, but immediately that's not you.
Yeah.
So you're going to offend half the people on there.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen it before. I've done it. I've made this mistake where I post something and I'm not thinking I'm angry and I'm going to make people upset and get my point across. I just, this is kind of interesting, and I posted it, and then boom, I lost 7 friends.
Yeah.
In that day, and I'm going,
And that goes to my point when I said good marketing, bad marketing. You really don't know, and you might think it's a good piece, but it's a bad piece, but you meant it in a good way, and then it's like, damn, all right, I won't do that again.
Right.
Because you can't really go back.
Sometimes.
You can delete it, but a lot of people saw it already.
Yeah,
Right.
it is hard to stay middle of the road. Like, there's no doubt about it. Because especially in today's culture, people get offended by like everything, and it's hard.
People are tense right now.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to put something out that people don't have a strong opinion about in some fashion or another. Like, unless it's just purely business, like a house for sale, things like that. Anything that might have a slight opinion just seems like there's going to be somebody that wants to attack it in some way, shape, or form. And
that's why I think people need to be a little more lighthearted and have some fun with your posts. You know, today I had a blast with it. In between phone calls, I would go on and find funny real estate jokes and post them, and it got tons and tons of comments and likes, and got instant messages, and I'm communicating with potential clients and people and actual clients, and it was just a great way to stay in front of people and have fun.
My favorite meme that you posted was the Hangover crew, and one was a buyer, one was the appraiser. It was just the funniest thing. So if you haven't seen it, check out that post on his Facebook.
Yeah,
from the movie The Hangover.
Yeah, that's, and I try to keep it pretty light like that too. I think it was always, you know, to throw some memes in there and you know, different things like that. It keeps people. It also shows what your industry's doing, whatever you're in, but it keeps it light and usually doesn't go across the line for the most part.
When we were talking earlier about the word busy, and it goes back to this, and when I ask you, you know, hey, how's everything going? What are you up to? Oh my God, I'm so busy. That also goes to social media. People don't want to hear about you all the time.
Yeah.
What do people want to hear about all the time? They want to talk about themselves, right? What is the one thing that people love to hear the most? Their name. So the same thing goes with social media. If you can get content out there that is not bragging about you, and it's something that's relatable to them, and people want to feel at ease. Why do you think alcohol sales are up so much right now, right?
Right.
Bring in this lightheartedness. Show the fun of who you are, because people are going to gravitate to that. They're not going to gravitate to you bragging. They're not going to gravitate to you talking about I'm number one in my office. They're not going to gravitate to you going on fancy vacations because they can't afford to do it, or they can't do it because of work, or they're scared to do it because of COVID or whatever. They're not number one because they're laid off of their job. They're not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you can be fun and lighthearted, people want to be around that. They're going to gravitate to that, I think, more than anything else right now.
I agree with you.
Absolutely. And I want to, it's kind of spinning a little off, but back to that point of busy. I've always loved challenging that word with people. And like you said, they say I'm busy, and I'm like, what are you busy with?
Right.
Like I personally think I juggle a lot of things.
Right.
Like I do a lot of different things just other than real estate, and I wouldn't consider myself busy. I mean, that's a lot of it's more like busy work, but busy would be, to me, is 100% productive. Like, okay, are you busy, or are you just don't know how to manage your time?
So if I said I was busy, your first reaction is, you must be crushing all your goals from last year. Wow.
Yeah, you'd think.
You know.
Yeah.
Right. If you're telling me you're busy, you must be crushing it. Well, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the body language and the tone. That's what a lot of it is that I'm referring to, more than the actual word busy. Is the, oh my God, I'm so busy, right? And especially somebody in our business, because every single person that you're talking to, a real estate agent, every single person you're talking to is a potential client or referral partner.
Yeah.
So for you to say something like that is destroying the opportunity to get their referrals, and for them to think of you next for themselves, and for them to refer you next to the guy that sits at the office next to them who's selling his house, you know, whatever. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah, and I know, like, when anybody says busy, you know, I know nobody's as busy as they think they are.
Correct.
By any means. I truly think that one of our problems in today's society is that people have too much time on their hands. Everybody thinks they don't have enough time, and they always say, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time.
Yep.
And they actually have too much time because they don't know how to do things efficiently enough or in a structured way to get things done in a timely manner where they don't feel busy, or they're not like
it's their
all over the
mind.
place.
Their mind is busy.
Yeah, and it's
They're
like,
just
oh,
thinking
how many
of a million different
Netflix
things, and they're
shows have
just
you seen
counterproductive
in the last month? How many movies have you watched on like how often do you watch TV and do you play video games, or do you do things other than this work? And you keep saying that you're like busy, but are you really? Like, I think we have too
Especially
much
when
time.
they post what's the next show to binge watch.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm too busy for this, or I'm too busy for that, and I'm like, I personally think this is a very objective, or like, and not a cocky way. I think I'm one of the busier people I know in terms of what I do in a in a month span, and but I still don't consider myself. I won't say like, oh man, I'm just so busy. Like,
The only person I'll allow to say busy in this world is my wife, because I witness it. She takes care of our kids. She takes care of the house. She decorates every holiday. She has a bakery she runs. She has an event planning
clean,
business.
laundry.
Cook, clean, laundry.
Factors.
Never complains about it and goes through. And every once in a while, I'll say something. She goes, I'm just too busy. I can't do that right now. And I'm like, you are.
I'm going to agree with you, and I hope my wife's listening to this, that I fully agree with
That's
you.
why I threw that in there. Good job, babe. No, so there's a good what's it called? Task that my Doug actually gave me. He said, I told him I'm too busy once we were on a coaching call. He's like, all right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down every half hour what you got done, productive wise. Because he said also, write down the top 10 things you need to get done for the day. The first 3 are productive. The 4 through 7 or 10 is your busy stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, great. Then the next day I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. Then at 9 a.m. I was like, I didn't do nothing. 10 a.m. made a post. 11 a.m. I'm like, man, I'm not as busy as I thought I was because my mind was busy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's so hard to change and discipline yourself. Exercise, that's the word I was looking for. It was a great exercise. And I literally did it that one day, the exercise of writing down what I did. And I was like, all right, I'm not that busy. And I just started to become more productive each and every day.
And that's, I try to track kind of like my days and how they went, and I like to reflect and look at, okay, what was I really wasting my time on?
Are you talking about journaling?
I don't really journal. I do journal certain
Can we
things.
read
When I train jiu-jitsu and stuff, I have a jiu-jitsu journal that I keep.
That's
tabs.
cool.
I keep tabs.
You got to
on,
do stuff like that.
What I've been training, what my goals are, how different classes or different things went. Because I do believe that's success, and in tracking, business numbers, metrics, you can't improve what you don't know. Like you can't track. My workouts, things like that. I've steadily been trying to add more and more things to track, but I always try to reflect each day. Like, man, how much time did I really waste today? And I try to fill that with better things.
Productive stuff.
It may not even be like, okay, let's do something like business productive, but it may be, okay, instead of listening to music, I'll put on a podcast, or I'll try to be more
Those
productive.
small changes will make a big change for the long term.
Yeah, but I personally realize, like, between training martial arts, teaching martial arts, going to the gym every day, doing work, doing like social media posts, things like that, being in the National Guard, volunteering every week, just all the different things I do, I still look back and be like, all right, this is where I'm wasting time, and I could be doing better. And I still I won't claim that I'm busy, because any time wasted means that I wasn't actually busy. Like, maybe busy.
Imagine
for
adding
10
a wife
minutes or
and
an
kids in
hour.
the mix.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean,
A 3 and a 1-year-old.
I truly know, and I don't. I definitely.
I
Don't,
think his keyword's going to be nanny.
Yeah, I don't. I don't take away from people especially when they have families and stuff. That's always a huge factor in what you can get done, because neglecting your family is, I think, should never happen in terms of what you do in business stuff. Like, it shouldn't take away from your family and that time spent, because time is the only real thing that matters in this life. Is It's the only real currency that matters. You can always make more money, but you can never get more time back. It just keeps going.
So that's a fantastic question. Let's ask Daniel and Keith.
Yeah, I think we can turn it right into. I always like asking this question in these podcasts.
Is the sun blasting you, or is that just me?
My face.
Next time we'll get
getting a tan.
My back is sweating.
That's why we put you on that
I'm
side
like,
of the table. We knew the sun was coming in, so
We need to be cool and calm.
Yeah.
work-life balance. This is, I think, coming from this busy point, and I think a lot of people get this again wrong. They have too much time, but they just don't know where to put the time. And what have you guys learned over the years from work-life balance? Like, how do you get to that point of where you're at now, or what are things you're working on, things you want to do better, things you've learned? Work-life balance, where are we at on that?
I've been.
Keith is older. I'll give him. He got more experience.
Maybe you can learn something before.
Maybe I can learn something because I'm still trying to figure it out. No, I got some
gray hairs.
Yeah. Well, you say you've been in the business for 20 years. So I'm like, he looks pretty young to be in the business for 20 years.
Almost 42.
42. Very, very young.
Yes. So, being in the business 20 years, you learn going through relationships. You learn, okay, I spent way too much time doing this. But let's go back to being busy, right? I thought that if I was working, quote unquote, working 12 hours a day, I was going to be successful. But then I realized how much of that day was I actually doing something. Let's talk about prospecting. Let's talk about making sure the staff is taken care of. Let's talk about taking care of your social media, setting up appointments with clients, potential clients, networking. Okay, how much time can I fit in a day, right? And what I learned was, like, you look at my family life structure now, instead of me leaving early and coming home at 5 or 6, I stay with the boys in the morning and get them off to school and help get that going, have breakfast with my wife, talk about life, and then go in a little bit later than most would. And then I take a client out for happy hour a couple days a week, so I'll be home at 6 or 7. So I just flip the script a little bit and then come home and have dinner with the family or bring dinner home. Instead of thinking where a lot of people think it's 12 to 12, and like Daniel was saying, a lot of it's in your mind. You think I gotta be so busy and I gotta do all this stuff. But once you've learned your process and what works and what doesn't work, you can actually ball it up in one day. And you can do, there is the 4-hour work week. I don't know if you ever read that book.
Love that book.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to be successful. And then what I learned was delegation. Delegation is, I see some of my clients who are making great money, but their family's falling apart because they're never around. They're working. I got phone calls to take. They're on trips on phone calls. I can't take a trip because I got work. Hire assistants. Delegate. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? So I learned that very early. Delegation was key.
Best play ever.
Delegation is key. And once I started delegating, guess what? I made more money. Because it freed me up to do the things that I'm good at.
And you feel better.
I'm not good
It's
at processing.
simple.
Yeah.
I'm not good at post-closing. I'm not good at funding. These are title terms. I'm good at what I'm good at. So why not bring experts in to do that, and I'll go do what I make money at, and then it tripled my business and quadrupled my business within a few years. But I think people are so scared to do that, they think it's going to take away from, I can't afford to pay somebody $35,000. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You actually can. And that's what...
Because you can't afford that divorce attorney.
Right. Well, let's flip the script.
$1,000.
Your happiness, your peace of mind, your family, your kids growing up, what's...
Yeah, what truly matters. And I think so many people get caught up in work and stuff, and the life, we've talked about this before, I'll do it tomorrow or next year, or next year it'll be better, next year it'll be different, and I'll make time later.
Right.
And it's continually it's like anything else you let go in life. You stop exercising or eating or doing anything, it's eventually going to compound on you.
Well, I think to find a positive in this lockdown situation, I think this has probably opened the eyes of a lot of people because they can work from home and they can work smarter, not harder. And it's going to show them when everything opens back up and we're back to reality that their reality is truly going to change.
Yeah.
That they're going, I don't have to work 12 hours a week and go into the office and do all this stuff. I can be around my family and I can do all this and I can spend time. I think it's really going to change the format of how people operate.
I agree with you. Yeah. I think there's a whole new level of understanding the tolerance with your family and factors, because since you were absent, if that was you, you're going to learn a lot and it's going to pay off tremendously.
That's if there is a
tenfold.
positive, I think this is the one.
This is definitely a huge positive.
How about you, Daniel? Sorry.
Yeah, no, shit. I went into a deep thought too. So the question was, how do you balance work-life? Well, obviously still trying to figure that out. I've been in real estate for 4 years now. It's definitely completely different from what I'm used to. Open up at 10, leave at 8 or 9. It was in the mall. And then, you're off. With real estate, you're never really off. But I'm definitely getting better. I'm building my business around my family. Family comes first. That's very important to me. My wife, my kids, they're young. We only got one life to live. time you can't ever buy back. And luckily, I am catching this at a young age. I'm leveraging a lot. I'm delegating a lot. I understand in order to grow, you got to give.
Yeah.
And that, it's hard to swallow 35 a year, 30, 40, 50, whatever you're paying a year. But you got to take that initial chance and risk up front to allow you to free up your time so you can be good at what you're doing, which will still leave you extra time so you could focus on your family. What I'm trying to do is, I'm like, all right, this is where my goal is. I'm going to break it down quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then daily. Okay, daily meaning, all right, no matter what, I'm going to get done what I need to get done, even though I was always scattered. Now I'm becoming more organized and disciplined and scheduled. From 9 to 5, I literally got a 9 to 5 now. I'm doing everything that I need to do. Before 9, I'm taking care of the boys, feeding them, playing with them, exercising, wake up, shower, coffee, all that. After 5 or 6, it depends on the day, I'm home. And then, anything, and that's my schedule. Weekends are off now. I'm leveraging my showings to my agent, my assistant, is handling all the paperwork, and my social media, is
and
my business.
You'll also be surprised when you tell someone that you're only available between 9 and 3. They'll be surprised that if they want to work with you and they need to, they'll accommodate that.
Hey, I'm not available at this time. You're more than welcome to follow back up. I understand. And you know what? If they're not cool with it, which 9 out of 10 people will be, if they're not cool with it, you don't want to work with them anyways.
There's
a lot of people out there who would be like, man, good for you. You're going to go spend time with your kids and family. Keep it up. A lot of
people respect that.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now, trying to just work in between 9 to 5. And after that, I'm off.
Yeah. And that just reminds me of what was it? 5 years ago, I was sitting at a diner and I was eating and I was talking to a client on the phone and I was grabbing a bite in between appointments. And the client kept asking me to meet up on Sunday. And I said, I don't work Sundays. And the guy that was listening to my phone I don't know if he's eavesdropping, but he's listening to my phone conversation a table away, and he paid my bill. And
because of that.
And the waitress said, that guy paid your bill. And I said, thank you. I said, just curious, what was that for? He said, I have come across a lot of people these days that don't work Sundays and voice it to their clients. And it just made me really happy. I wanted to pay for your dinner.
Love that. I respect
So it was really cool.
Yeah, one key thing I think like you've started to set up is you have kind of your boundaries of the times that you're in, the times that you're out. Mm-hmm. But I think, it's hard. You can't. It's a hard system to perfect because you do want to help people when you can, and
it's hard to say no.
It's hard to say no. It is. It's
like because I'll
no.
take it, but then you're like.
Yeah, and
what is it going to affect? If I take this, yes, and I say no to that, how much am I giving up, really?
Well, the ripple starts happening.
Exactly.
Where's it going to lead to?
Yeah, and I think it's always a snowball at some point that gets bigger and bigger. And, it's easy for us to say no to our family. Right? It always seems like it's easy for us to tell our family no. Mm-hmm. And it seems hard to tell somebody we barely know no, and set those boundaries with them where the people that are going to be with us for the rest of our lives, I personally think should have the priority in terms of that. Yeah, you still got to run a business, you still got to make money, but if you've decided to go to a kid's baseball game or, you're going to coach the basketball team, like those are strict boundaries that you do not step on because those are things that you're not going to get back at the end of the day. Right? And like Keith alluded to, paying people to do things, to take things off your plate will open up the ability for you to be able to.
It's the only way
go do those things.
You should be doing what you're good at.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Absolutely.
That's how you succeed. Do what
all
you're
of
good
us
at.
should just be meeting with clients. Everything else, leverage, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. Leverage is
build
huge.
relationships, and the relationships will add to the bottom line.
Yeah. So before we end this, I'm going to ask each of you guys one big thing you've learned in life or in business that you can give to somebody today that you think would be impactful on either their life or their business. I'll let you choose life or business, but
sure.
One thing that you've learned, a big thing that you'd take and give to somebody if you could.
The one thing that I always talk about when I go and do my talks is how I grew up, where I was expected to end up, and where I'm at today. And I always tell people, get out of your own damn head. That's the first thing I say is get out of your own damn head. Don't listen to anybody else, and half the time don't listen to yourself, because you're basically taking what everyone's always said to you, and you're creating your own thought or reality in your head. I came from a stereotypical trailer park. My parents didn't make any money. They were amazing parents, but They didn't have the resources for me. I tried to go to college. That didn't work out. And I created my own path. And yes, I had down the wrong paths a couple times, but I had to self-reflect, and I had to do it all on my own, and I had to have that self-discipline, because I looked at the people around me and I said, this isn't where I want to be. Because I could very easily be here, because this is the easiest option.
Plus, it's easy. That's the whole point. You got to get out of your comfort zone.
I had to get out of the comfort zone. And I started looking at people that were successful, and I said, how do I get there? And they all said, work your butt off and stay focused. And I said, okay. And that's what I did. So you always hear that cliche, work hard, work hard, work. No, it's literally, that's all it is. And I didn't want to end up like the people around me. And when I look back at these folks, they're drug addicts, they're dead, they're in prison, they're still living the same way that they were, back in the mobile home park. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with growing up in a mobile home park or living in a mobile home park, but you chose to be there, right? I chose not to be there. And you create your own path, but the number one thing that I've learned and that I can pass on to people is get out of your own damn head. Anybody can do it. If I could do it, you could do it. I had zero resources, and I created it on my own. So that's what I would tell people.
Thank you. That's solid advice.
Love it. So yeah, what I would say is, actually, I just made a post about it recently, is foundation, and that applies in life and business, because your personal life will roll into your business life. And as far as foundation goes, if you have no solid foundation, if you have no standards, no morals, no ethics, you don't know who you are or what you're about, you're always going to be led in the wrong direction and make wrong choices, which leads to your result. So the main thing you need to do, and for me, it's God. If it wasn't for God and my faith and my belief and his word and understanding and applying it to my life, I don't know where I would be or where I would be directed to. And anytime a storm comes.
Well, is there another moral compass you can find exterior that makes sense?
At the end of the day, everyone has their own free will to make their own decision. I would obviously recommend that route, because I do believe it's the truth, and it's what helped me get through everything that I've been through. Whether it's spiritual, which my foundation is based off of that, whether it's whatever else that potential, individual wants to believe or build on. But I would definitely, look for it. Look for what you are. You're not going to just immediately know what your foundation is. You're not going to know who you are. You got to, a lot of people say you got to find yourself, but I find that it's definitely a good saying, but I think you need to create yourself. You need to create who you are. All right, who am I? What do I stand for? What's my foundation? What's my backbone? What makes me different? What's my value? So the main thing is just build a solid foundation, build from the ground up, and everything else will start to come into place.
Yeah. And to end on this guy, Chris Doe, that I follow online, he's a big social media expert and stuff. He was in a podcast and he was talking about, fake it till you make it. And he didn't like it, and he changed it to what I like it is believe it until you achieve it. And creating yourself and your foundation and things like that, and believing yourself. You have to believe that you can make it, or believe that this is who you are and this is who you become, and build that foundation until you finally do achieve it. I just think that was a great quote.
Beautiful.
I like that quote.
So that's funny you say that, because my first year I faked it till I make that. Put myself out there like I was the expert, but no one ever questioned if I sold a home or not. I just really did that good of a job to make them feel comfortable and get the job done and give them a good experience to, to
clearly
have them.
You did good, because you tripled your business in the last couple of years.
Exactly. So,
did something right.
But fake it till you make it sounds like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But
believe it till you achieve it.
Believe it till you achieve
But
it.
I think lying to everyone.
Lying. Yeah, I wasn't lying, but I was putting myself in a position of authority when I. Technically, it's the mindset. What's of authority, but
if you believed you were the expert.
Yeah, my resume technically was too, but not in real estate. You know, you just got to believe in yourself, build that confidence, build that trust, and yeah, that's awesome. But no, thank you guys very much.
We appreciate you guys coming on. It was
Thank you
fun
to both of you.
podcast. I like having being able to just
It
have
was
these
definitely a good
conversations
one.
and fun. So
Yeah, thanks for having me.
yeah, we'll do it again sometime
here.
soon. All right, and
Awesome.
Until next one, guys. What I've learned podcast. We'll be back.
Thank